I think in Kenya there has been a lot of significant progress in trying to ensure broader security sector governance, and I think one of the main watershed moments was after the post-election crisis, during which there were many recommendations that were made towards pushing forward the conversations on reforming the security sector, specifically the police, and enhancing justice sector reforms as well. These have created space for broader civilian oversight, such as through the creation of the independent police oversighting authority that is civilian-led. One of the main challenges, though, with this process of ensuring greater accountability has been related to the fact of increasing counterinsurgency in the sub-region. And as a result of that, as a result of pressure by the government to respond to increasing acts of terror, we are seeing a reduction in conversations around accountability. Accountability here, I mean accountability to human rights issues, accountability to questions of social justice, accountability in terms of ensuring that the police actually follow the stated guidelines in terms of the use of force. In fact, there have been calls for the police to actually be mandated to increase the use of force. Now, while we recognize the challenge of our time, which is the idea of counterinsurgency, we must be careful to not erode processes that are rooted in our history, or in a country where the police had been known to be trigger happy. During the post-election crisis, the police, and this is well documented, were involved in extrajudicial killings. And it is important for the government, through the institutions that have been created for oversight, the Independent Policing Authority, the Parliamentary Committees on Security and Justice, to ensure that a balance is created, to ensure that conversations on human rights, conversation on set norms and standards for how police should follow due process occur, to ensure that the laid down mechanisms within the law, within the justice sectors, in terms of prosecution of criminals, in terms of investigations, are followed without actually hindering the rights of citizens and separating the rights of citizens, even when their criminals form terrorists or suspected terrorists. Yes, I think SSR has an opportunity to begin to bridge the gap between alternative or parallel security mechanisms, even where those security mechanisms are actually engaged in criminal activities as well, and the formal systems that have been created. But in order to do that, those formal systems of providing security and justice have to build the trust of the citizens. Citizens need to be able to know that, one, they're accessible. And I think the question of accessibility, and accessibility here is in terms of physical infrastructure. You know that there's a police post you can go to. You know that the local court is available and will be able to address cases of violence or criminality that are brought forward and dealt with in the most efficient way. Now, I know that within the justice sector in Kenya, there have been great efforts to try and increase the number of judges at a local level so that people know that the justice system is available, prosecutors at a local level. But because, again, of the weaknesses of the security provisioning in the country, what we are witnessing is a flourishing of not security providers as such, but criminal groups. And because of the absence of the state at a local level, communities therefore have to bear more allegiance to these groups out of fear, less out of the fact that they're providing security. And this is a big challenge. This is a big challenge that the state needs to be able to respond to, not by victimizing and creating fear within the local communities, but beginning to ensure that, one, the state itself make sure that their own structures are at a local level, and that citizens can therefore resort to those structures and know that within the provisions of witness protection that are there within the Constitution, they will be safe and they will not be victimized and there will be no reprisals. I think one of the main ways to address that problem in reality is simply to try and ensure that people who are sitting in the oversight community around security and justice actually have the requisite experience to sit in those oversight committees. Requisite experience meaning that they have a history in those institutions, they understand the dynamics of those institutions, they understand what to look for. Because I think because of whether it's perks or the political dynamics of what it means to join what committee at a parliamentary level, you find that a lot of people who are sitting in those spaces do not actually know what to ask, and therefore oversight occurs at a very surface level. So I think very practically that is one of the things that can be done. Get the right people into the right space. I think, however, because of the pressure of the pressure that the current government is in, it sees any criticism about the weaknesses of our institutions, the weaknesses of response as a criticism on its own performance, and therefore has been slow to respond. The government of Kenya and and other countries that are facing these kinds of challenges need to see the threat of counterinsurgency as an opportunity to strengthen their institutions, to strengthen their effectiveness, not only to respond to counterinsurgency, but also to deal with the internal dynamics that actually create opportunity for counterinsurgency to occur. Efficiency and questions of accountability as well remain key to that conversation. I see a lot of focus on efficiency, so building operational capacity, but less attention to the questions of accountability and really whether the efficiency is matching the question of effectiveness. I am part of the African Leadership Center that provides both academic and non-academic training to young women and men who are interested in questions of security and leadership on the continent. And this is a program that includes both academic, master's and PhD level courses, but also seeks to bring in women in particular who are engaged in security, peace and security and conflict transformation processes across the continent and merge lived experience, practical programmatic experience that they may have on the ground with a much more theoretic, conceptual understanding of some of the debates that are going on, so that when they go back into their own NGOs and local communities, they can merge the two, the conceptual, theoretical, and their own practical experiences.